right, good morning, Travis County. I'm Tamara Schubert, your Family Consumer Science educator for NMSU and Travis County Cooperative Extension. And it's Friday. That means it's question of the week. And this week it's going to be just a little bit different. We had leaders training last night with our extension clubs, and there were some questions on putting together the reversible casserole cover that we made last night. So for those of you that weren't able to hear, for those of you in the community that had some questions, we're going to run through it real quick, and hopefully this answers all of them. So you need a couple of pieces of material on hand. So you want 2 pieces of cotton. It is reversible. If you want both sides the same, that's fine. If you want them different, plan on something that matches. So you need 2 pieces of cotton material. They're going to be 22 by 22 an inch. So a square, and then you need cotton batting for the middle. You can put 1 or 2 pieces depending on how thick you want your carrier and how warm your dishes need to be. The other things that we need is a 5 by 22 inch strip of one of the fabrics and 2 5 by 7 inch strips. So what we're going to do with those, and these are already prepped, so you're going to take them and you're going to fold them in half long ways and press them, and then take those edges, make them meet center, and fold them again so that they make a piece that's about an inch and a half wide. And we're going to do that to all 3 of our small strips. Once those are done, we're going to, on our 2 small strips, we're going to sew straight down the sides. We don't have to finish off the edges because those are going to be caught up in our seams. On our long one, we're going to make sure we tuck those edges under so we have a nice smooth finish. So we're going to sew down the long side of each of those pieces real quick. Okay, so we've taken both of our small pieces, sewn along that edge that opens up, and we've done that as well to our long piece. So what we need to do is the cotton batting that we have, that's our 22 by 22, we need to lay that down, smooth it out. On top of there, we're going to put our 2 pieces of cotton fabric right sides together. And then we're going to sandwich our small pieces inside. So if you take your 2 hands, fold your piece together, makes this little point right here. Pick a corner. It doesn't matter what corner we have, but pick a corner, and we're going to lay this one end on each side about an inch and a half away from the corner. And we're going to pin that in place. Once we have it pinned in place, we're going to lay that upper cotton right back over the top of it. And pin that in place so it doesn't move on us. We're going to take our second small strip and do the same thing. We're going to hold it in our hands, bring our hands together, and it makes that corner. So we're going to go diagonal to the small piece that we just put in, and this is going to go on the opposite corner. So again, an inch and a half away from the corner, we're going to pin one side, and on the opposite seam, we're going to pin the other side. And I will hold it up real quick so you can see what we're talking about. So you'll see that one end is on one edge and the other end is on the other edge. And then we're going to again fold that cotton back over and pin it into place. And then we're ready to sew this together. So we want to pin every 2 to 3 inches just so that that cotton stays with the batting and it doesn't walk with us as we sew. All right, so once we've sewed around the edges, we want to make sure we left that gap. We're ready to trim our corners so that our corners lay flat. So the best way that I know how to trim the corners is to do it in a V. So you trim this side going into the corner and the other side going the opposite direction so that when they join, you get a really flat, smooth corner. So they should look something like this. So when they go together, it's really flat and smooth. And you're going to do that on all 4 corners. and then you're ready to turn. So we're going to go ahead after we turn, we're going to go ahead and make sure that those corners came out really nice. There's a couple of different things you can use to pop out your corners. They make a purple thing that's specifically for popping your corners, the edge of a ruler, things like that you've got handy. The edge of a comb works really good. So you don't have to have a specific tool. Things you have around the house work really nice. But we're going to make sure that those corners got nice and popped out. All right. So our next job is we're going to press down so that that side seam sits good on the side. So the more that we press as we sew, the better things lay. And remember that pressing is a little different than ironing. So pressing is done in an up and down motion. Our ironing is done in a side to side motion. So be sure that your iron is set for your specific fabric that you're using. And we're just going to press all around those edges. If you used multiple layers of cotton, you can trim one of those layers a little bit if you're worried about it laying flat. I've got 2 in this one and it seems to be laying pretty good. When you get to that opening, you do want to press it pretty good. We're going to sew around the border, give it a top stitch so that everything catches, and we're going to sew that opening closed. So when sewing the edge of your casserole cover, sew as close as the edge that you can that you're comfortable with. If it's going to bog up your machine, don't worry about it. But get as close to the corner as you're comfortable with so that it lays nice and flat and you can catch that opening without going back and having to stitch again. Okay, so we're done with this iron. I'm going to stick it out of the way and get it unplugged real quick. That way I'm not having to worry about it. Okay. So we've sewn around our edge, and now's the fun time for any kind of design that we want to do. If you like to quilt your items together, now's the time to do it. So you can use invisible ink, you can use tailored chalk, tracing paper, anything like that, your acrylic ruler for some straight lines, and you can put some kind of a pattern. If you're bulky on cotton in the middle, it's a great idea to go ahead and quilt some of this down so that your cotton doesn't move. You do want to pin liberally so that it doesn't walk on you and you don't have excess material when you get to one end or the other. So we're going to take a few minutes and quilt some designs on here real quick, and then we'll get to our next step and we're finished. Thank you for hanging tight with us. Okay, so we have it all quilted. You can see that I just did some straight lines through it, and I've got a thread right there that's going to bug me. All right, so we are done except for one step. So it does not matter which side that you put your handle on. Remember, it's reversible, so it's up to you on how you want it to look. But we're going to go on the opposite corners of where we put our loops to begin with, and we're going to pin that strip about 2 inches from the edge of the corner. It will not lay flat straight across. It will kind of tend to bow up your fabric just a little bit because the strip is not as long as the diagonal. So we're going to go opposite the corner that we put our loops on to begin with, and we're going to pin it about 1.5 inches to 2 inches off the corner. And then all we're going to do is we're going to sew a box. We're going to catch that edge and sew a box just right here at the edge to attach the strap. And that is the end of what you have to sew. So to use these, and they're good with a variety of size of pans. I just happened to pick up a small one. They're good with squares, they're good with rectangles, they're good with circles. So you're simply going to put it under the strap, right in the middle. The long strap is going to go through one of the loops, and then the other loop, so that then when they come together, it holds your dish in the back or in the bottom. So they are reversible. So if you decide you want your other one, just flip it over, take that strap to the other side, and it works the same way. These are great to use all the time. They're great to use on picnics. They're great to use if you're going to dinner. You can leave it as a hostess gift. But if you're curious at the grocery store or at the shopping store to know how much fabric you need, they're fat quarters, just trimmed down. Let us know if you have any questions. Have a great weekend and happy Friday.